Dollar. Dirt on money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yep, what's good, original crew, man? We're back. We have the internet's darkest corners too for y'all today, man. Hopefully y'all having a wonderful day. If not, hopefully you always get a pick me up every time you click on Kid and See Reacts, man. Hopefully you can have a good time, laugh time. Just come in, sit down, and enjoy the ride. Or you can, know what I'm saying, put it on before you go to bed, and a good wind down. You know what I'm saying? Because I know typically with the crime and the crime ones that we do, typically a lot of people say they like to watch these at night and just, relax, something chill to relax to before, while getting in bed or before bed, that type of thing. But with that being said, before we get into it, make sure you check out the links in the description box.
Down below.
You already know where to go if you want to further support. All you have to do is check out down below. Also, if you enjoy today's visuals.
Like it with a thumbs up.
But hey, man, let's hop into it. Let's check it out. Let's see what this one about. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get it.
Or it can draw conclusions. It's a personal computer from Apple, and it's as easy to use as this.
Yes, raid, house and garden.
But by taking the proper precautions, you can get the job done safely.
Whoa, you okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm fine.
There was no way to defend herself. She knew she had been caught. As in the hours prior to getting behind the wheel of her car, 21-year-old Jayana Webb had consumed far too many drinks, causing her driving to become uncontrollable and erratic. And after reaching speeds well over 100 miles per hour and driving right past a pair of state troopers, Jayana was now pulled over on the I-95 in South Philadelphia.
Wow.
There, she would be approached by officers Martin Mack and Brandon Siska as she sat one breathalyzer away from facing harsh legal action for her poor decision. But just as the officers began conversing with the intoxicated woman, their attention would soon be called elsewhere, as an urgent call was made to their radio, alerting them that a pedestrian had been wandering by foot on that very highway just a few miles ahead. Unaware at this point that Jayana was in fact inebriated, and assuming that the pedestrian was a far more pressing concern, the officers sprang into...
They let her go, which anytime you get pulled over and they get another call that's deemed to be more important, they just say, oh, this is a warning, we're going to go ahead and let you go. Yeah. That's never a good thing. And then she's intoxicated, driving at high rate speed, and swerving lane to lane. Yeah. Also could have been her, that accident could have been caused by her as well, because she is the person who's driving.
It probably was. I don't know.
I don't want to jump to those assumptions.
I don't want to jump to
Lord,
that's why I'm just
Jesus, man.
Action and sped away into the night, allowing Jayana to leave freely and breathe the ultimate sigh of relief. Clearly she had dodged a bullet, but rather than being thankful that she had avoided certain and serious legal ramifications, the incident instead seemed to inflate her ego, as she immediately took to Twitter, still parked on the side of the road, writing in a braggadocious manner, "Why the cop pull me and he say I'm doing 110 and a 50? As strange of a response as this may have been, to narrowly avoiding a life-changing arrest, this was surprisingly on brand for Jayana, as between incessant posting about how much she loves to drink, she would also tweet, "If you ask me, I'm the best drunk driver ever."
Wow.
This was clearly a pattern for Jayana, a normalized action, as she believed that she was fully capable of driving drunk, and also that she was actually good at it, which is not only incredibly frightening, but also far from the truth. Immediately after tweeting this message out, Jayana would again speed off into the night, having gotten away with her drunk driving once more. Though, ironically, just minutes later, she would again approach those very same officers that had just pulled her over, as well as that very pedestrian they were trying to help. Only this time, there was a problem. She was going far too fast, and was impaired to the point that her reaction time was severely delayed. She quickly began to swerve out of control, and by that point, there was no stopping. And in an instant, Jayana would careen her vehicle directly into Officers Martin Mack and Brandon Siska, as well as that same pedestrian they were attempting to save, striking all three at unimaginable speeds. As the car finally came to a stop, all three of the men lay motionless on the pavement. None of them were alive, with the only survivor of the incident being Jayana.
Always.
I just said the same. I swear, this pisses me off.
Lock her ass up, throw away the key, because she, for one, braggadocious about it anyway. So. She ain't gonna learn her lesson unless you lock.
Nope.
And three people
have lost their lives.
If this is ever a slap on the wrist or anything, if she don't even get life, she gonna do it again.
That really pissed me off, especially when you like.
You should have been like, this is a blessing. Let me call somebody. Let me try to get, you know what I'm saying? Let's just see what the outcome.
The best drunk driver ever.
If you don't stop your friend from drinking and driving, you're as good as dead.
Hold on. Come on, Nick.
I'm gonna have to look this up.
I'm sure somebody can tell us in the comments.
Yeah, it really makes me mad, especially when you like personally know people that have lost their lives to drunk drivers.
Oh yeah.
And those people have gotten like little to no type of like nothing really, like a little slap on the wrist because it was really nothing.
Yeah.
Like really. Like that,
especially those who don't even learn from the situation.
Don't learn from it.
Now, some people learn and they hold. Some people it stays with them for
some people
for the rest of their lives, and some of them barely can live with themselves because of it. But I know a lot of them don't ever let them get away with, because they get away with it one time, boy, they feel untouchable.
Facts.
March 30th, 2017. A disturbing video begins circulating across Twitter, showing a woman hanging out of a window, clinging on for dear life with one hand. Below her was 7 stories of nothing, leading to concrete ground and metal. Certain death for anyone unfortunate enough to fall from that height. Understandably, the woman is crying and begging to be saved, yelling over and over again to hold me, hold me. But what makes this story especially disturbing is the commentary in the background heard in response to these pleas. As the woman desperately clings to the window, another woman stands inches away, holding her phone and recording the ordeal, as she calmly responds to the cries for help by saying, "Oh crazy, come back." It's a chilling line, knowing that one woman was clearly powerless and in dire need of help, while the other woman just stands behind the camera, seeming completely unfazed by the gravity of the situation, waiting for tragedy to strike. And that's exactly what would happen, as the lady soon loses her grip, causing her to plummet to the ground below. Moments later, the camera shows the...
People are so weird, bro. There's so many people weird in this world, bro. The signs of tragedy, first thing they want to do is, man, I got to record this and put it online because I
will never understand.
Man.
That's one thing I would never understand.
The only time I ever have grabbed my phone in a situation of any type was growing up in high school for a fight.
Yeah,
that's just immaturity, just excited for the moment, being childish.
Yeah, as a child. Well, as a child, I don't even think I did it then. But as a child, I understand it. But as an adult, and someone is in dire need, literally,
bro, you know how many people
your help.
People pull out their phones and want to record everything. I just seen I just saw some the video. The girl had ran up with XXX. It was like, hey, I'm like, bro, why are you trying to capture that and post it online? Like, this man is clearly gone.
Yeah.
This family don't need to because somebody posted his dead body on the internet.
Yeah.
And then his family hears about it before the police can even let him know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I saw a video like this early. You know, I typically send you a lot of stuff, but a lot of stuff I do not send you.
I'd be like, some stuff is off limits. Do not send me certain things.
And that, I ain't gonna
I
lie.
understand I'm sitting here now, but it's hard for me to sometimes even like watch stuff like this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, please don't send me no video where like I know that I'm going into, you know, what I'm going into by the title of his videos. But randomly I'm opening a video and you just like, don't do that. Don't do that to me. Please don't.
No, I just saw a video earlier. This woman, she fell from the fifth floor. I said, and just to see, I said, wow, because you know what I'm saying? You see people say, hey, that person fell. I'm like, 5 floors ain't that high. But the aftermath, seeing it, I said, oh, I thought I'd never seen no like that before. I saw something else too. I'll tell you about that off
5
camera.
floors is high to me.
We 2 stories up. Was on the 2nd floor. Technically, right now.
5 is high to me in a building.
But I have heard people fall from like 5 stories and still survive. And like
some people just.
But it was the way she fell. She fell and hit something then.
And then.
And it was. I said, wow. And somebody got it on camera recording it.
Woman as she lays there deathly still, 7 stories below. It was an extremely shocking video, and one that immediately raised questions as to what exactly had led to this scenario, with millions viewing the video and sharing it across Twitter in a desperate search for answers as the clip offered nothing else in the way of context. Initially, it was believed and even reported that the woman had done this as a way of taking her own life, and the woman behind the camera seemingly didn't believe that she would go through with it, perhaps just not understanding that by that point, there was literally nothing the hanging woman could have done to pull herself back up. And due to this being the most prominent initial theory, many would walk away from this video believing that it was sadly yet another tragic suicide. However, there was something that still didn't sit right about this clip, as the cold, callous way that the woman off-screen had spoken to this struggling woman just comes across as so off-putting, leading some to believe that there had to be more to this story.
It is.
A notion that would turn out to be correct. Upon the release of a series of local articles from Kuwait, it would be revealed that this hanging woman's name was actually Adish Sadiq, and what we are witnessing in this video actually isn't an attempted suicide, but rather an attempted murder. At the time, Adish had moved from her home in Ethiopia to quote-unquote work as a maid in Kuwait, and I say this because it would later be revealed that Adish had essentially been a slave to her employer. She had only been working for this particular boss for 3 days, but during this time she had been held captive and was forbidden from leaving the building, making Adish essentially a prisoner or a slave, which sadly is all too common of an occurrence in the area due to something called the kafala system, which is way too complicated to fully dive into here. But on this particular day, Adish finally had enough, and she approached her boss telling her that she was quitting while demanding to be released. Though it wasn't quite that simple, and her boss did not take kindly to this request. In response, Adish would be grabbed and thrown inside of the bathroom of what appears to be some sort of apartment complex, with the room being located near the very top of the building. Once inside, her boss, a woman who to my knowledge has not been publicly named, would lock the door and begin shouting at Adish and proclaiming that she was going to kill her, and that no one would ever find out or even care for that matter, which was most certainly true given the unbalanced power dynamic in the area between employers and foreign workers. And knowing that the woman was in fact serious with her threats, and that if she were killed in that bathroom, no one would have known, Adish made the split-second decision to try and escape out the window, despite knowing that she would most likely not survive the fall. But at least this way, as slim as it may seem, she had a chance. Going out that window was purely an act of desperation, but to Adish it was the only way, and so she clambered out the window and prepared to plummet to the ground below. But not before her boss pulled out her cell phone to record the woman's final moments, while openly mocking her as she fell to the ground below. This explains the lack of assistance that the camera woman offered, and why she seemed to have such a smug attitude towards the helpless woman, because she didn't care if Adish died. Her life was meaningless to her if she wasn't her slave. And to make this employer's behavior even more jarring, she would immediately upload the video to her very own Snapchat, where it would then be re-recorded and shared across the web. And when questioned about what exactly had happened inside that bathroom, it was this employer that began the lie that Adish was merely trying to take her own life. She had formulated this entire rumor to essentially absolve herself from any responsibility, and it's almost certain that she would have gotten away with this too, had it not been for the fact that Adish survived. Upon falling to the ground below, Adish's fall would be broken by a metal awning, which more than likely saved her life, as miraculously she was able to physically walk away from the scene with merely a broken arm and a few other non-life-threatening injuries. She'd even go on to give an interview inside the hospital just a few days later, where she would reveal the truth behind this shocking video, with this testimony leading to the arrest of her employer, who would ultimately receive just a few months of jail time. But still, it's crazy to me just how differently this story could have ended, and probably should have ended, as imagine if this video had never been recorded, and imagine if Adish hadn't survived that fall. I mean, the truth would have literally never been known, which is such a scary and utterly depressing thought. Though thankfully, the story did have a happy ending, a phenomenon that is sadly all too rare when exploring the dark corners of the internet.
That is so crazy, man. I'm glad she was able to survive, though.
So glad.
Because, yeah, if she didn't survive, the narrative would have been twisted and not in her favor at all.
Nope.
Like, we would have had so many other different... Man.
Everybody would have just went with the other woman's story. She would have been painted as, she took her own life, and that was that. And she would have got no, even though it was just a few months.
And she would have had another victim.
And she would have had someone else.
Bro, some evil people in this world, for real.
Terry, I was in my head. I was like, some people are really evil, heartless.
Facts.
Yeah.
If we miss a step in the rigging process, things could go seriously wrong. The first step to preventing accidents is preparation. Let's begin by taking a close look at...
In recent years, the popularity of live streaming has seemingly reached an all-time high, as it allows the audience to interact with their favorite creators in a uniquely intimate way. But with any content like this, there always lies a dark side, as unpredictable events can interrupt the live stream at any moment. Unsurprisingly, this has led to countless compilations and clips throughout the web, documenting the many disturbing moments that have happened when creators go live. And of these endless examples, a few have always stood out to me. In the year 2021, a 23-year-old named Chao Quimi had been building a following on the social media site Douyin, the Chinese version of what many of us know today as TikTok, which will actually be featured in the remainder of today's cases. She would post numerous videos and live streams, helping build her follower count to over 100,000 people. It was a more than respectable number, and though she wasn't the most famous person on the platform by any means, many believed that she was well on her way to internet stardom. But before she could get there, she knew that she had to keep a stable job and establish some sort of income, as she was already in the process of building her family, being the mother of 2 young children. And so she would spend her days working as a crane operator, assisting in numerous construction projects and earning herself a decent wage, as it wasn't a job that most would sign up for. The cranes that Chao was often tasked with operating often stood hundreds and even thousands of feet in the air. It certainly wasn't a job for the faint of heart, but Chow seemingly embraced the challenge, and in many ways used her unique skill set to her advantage, as she would often document her life as a crane operator on Douyin, with these videos, along with her dancing content, being responsible for the majority of her viewership. And by the summer of 2021, Chow would begin not only making videos while at work, but she would also begin live streaming right from her job. And on July 20th, 2021, when her workday began to wind down, she would once again fire up her stream. The full version of this stream doesn't appear to be available anywhere online today, and rather, we only have a roughly 2-minute clip from that day, with the video starting in silence, as Chow had been singing along to copyrighted music, while inside the small cab of her massive crane, sitting 160 feet in the air. She would then set her phone down with the camera still rolling as the viewers began flocking to the stream, loving every second of it. Or at least they were, until the footage cut to this.
Is she falling?
Though the exact moment has been cut from this video, likely out of respect for Chow, as she was streaming 16 stories in the sky, Chow finishes dancing and begins to walk down the steps of the crane until she slips, causing her to free fall all the way to the ground with her phone supposedly still in hand. On her way down, she seems to strike metal bar after metal bar from the crane until she finally hit the ground below, killing her instantly with her phone still recording. I just can't even imagine being one of the viewers in that live stream and watching that very moment that she begins to fall. And ultimately, I think it's a good thing that the actual footage of her slipping has essentially been wiped from the internet, as even with the missing frames, this is truly one of the most disturbing live stream accidents that I have ever seen. An accident that showcased the brutal end of a rising star taken too soon. And throughout the history of the Douyin platform, she's far from the only one.
See?
9 times out of 10, the video is accessible somewhere. Might not be in America, but possibly over there. Anything touches the internet, it's always, forever will be accessible. No matter how you try to wipe it, somebody got some access to it, and it's somewhere. You just don't know where to go look for it.
Anybody that got any type of, I wouldn't even want to see no video like that, honestly. That is so sad. And the fact that she had 2 young kids.
But you know, that's the reason why when you go to work and you go on these job sites, your personal life stay there. Your full attention goes to the job. Carelessness and unattentive to the job because you're doing, for lack of a term, I forgot the name of the platform, but just relevance to TikTok. You're doing TikTok dances and stuff in a vehicle. Yeah. You're still streaming, you know what I'm saying? You're not paying attention, you're not focused, you're not alert to the job.
Yeah.
And so the job is now second nature. So it's not your main focus. And so 20 feet in the air, it's the wrong place.
Yeah.
RIP. Yeah. At the end of the day, RIP. Because I would be, that's crazy, man, to go out that way.
And just imagine, like, anyone that was, like, in real time on the stream when that happened.
Just imagine the people that was there on the job site.
I would be, that too. I would be so traumatized, bro.
It's not so hard after all. Once you get the hang of it, it can be easy to rig a load safely.
Raid hunts bugs down like radar, attacks roaches and ants as they crawl, and kills them dead.
Lu Chao Maomao Z was also a young creator on the Douyin site, focusing most of her content on the latest fashion trends, with her videos helping her to amass a following of over 600,000 people, making her a full-on celebrity on the platform. It's a type of virality that so many people in our world desire. But this also comes with a downside. With so many eyes on you, the criticism and hatred lobbied your way on a daily basis is often overwhelming, and for many it can be too much to bear. And for Lu, this fame ultimately came at the cost of her own mental sanity. Even before her rise to prominence, Lu had long since struggled with severe depression, and now, given the rise of what her family described as constant online harassment, this depression would only worsen by the day. By August of 2021, things had gotten so bad for Lu that her family began to fear that she may try and harm herself, and decided to place her in a psychiatric hospital with the hopes that there, she would be safe and hopefully overcome her personal demons. And for a while, that's exactly what she would do, as she supposedly began making serious strides in her mental health. Though once released, her progress would again diminish, as she would fall back into creating content, with the online harassment only growing worse and worse the more her account grew, which leads us to October 14th, 2021. On top of dealing with the stress associated with online fame, Lu would also have to deal with a breakup between her and her longtime boyfriend, something that would cause her already collapsing mental health to completely plummet. And so that day, she would take to Douyin and post a cryptic video stating that this may be the last time she ever interacts with her audience, with the clip being titled, "This is probably the last video, thank you for following along."
大家好，我是小猫。那也许可能是我最后一条为大家发送视频了。想知道原因的话，那就来小号看我直播吧。谢谢你们陪我这么久，谢谢。
It is an incredibly worrisome video, as given her complex history with depression, viewers grew worried that she was alluding to taking her own life, with some questioning what she had in store for this supposed livestream, or if it would even happen at all. But sure enough, as promised, that same night Lu would go live and reveal her plan. As the stream starts, Lu is sitting in front of a camera, echoing the sentiment of her previous video, and expressing how truly sad she was, before she shifted the conversation to ending her life. As viewers began clicking on her stream, Lu explains how she had purchased liquid pesticide from the store, which was said to be highly toxic, as a single sip was capable of causing death.
And kills them dead.
And not only did she buy this, but she also explained how she planned to drink it right there on stream, before asking her viewers what they thought. By this point, her stream had already amassed over 1,200 viewers, many of whom being supposed fans of the young woman, who clearly was in desperate need of help. But rather than helping talk her out of this, the live chat instead began to turn on her. Looking at still images pulled from the stream, the majority of her comments read things like, "Drink, drink, drink," or "Drink if you want to." And even more nefariously, other users would write, "Drink up, fatty," and "Prove that you have depression in front of this many people. Drink the pesticide." It's unclear what Lu's true intentions were when starting this stream, but many believe that this was simply done as a call for help, with one of her own friends even stating that this was only done as a way of attracting her ex-boyfriend's attention, and that she never actually intended on taking her own life. But seeing the way that her chat had turned on her, and hearing the demands that she drink the pesticide, only fueled her spiraling mental health. And so, in an instant, Lu grabbed the bottle and began to chug. Following this, Lu puts the jug down and makes a remark stating, "That was hard to drink," before the poison seemingly begins to take effect. The stream then ends as Lu clutches her throat and stops the video.
I couldn't sit there. I could not sit there and watch something like that and take part of anything like that.
I couldn't sit there and... If I've been following this girl, I don't know if she talks about...
Bro, these folks don't be fans,
I know they don't,
fans
but
for real.
Not, you don't even have to be a fan of me.
They don't be supporters. They don't be
nothing.
nothing.
Not a fan, a supporter, or nothing, but me just having a heart and me just being in... Like, anybody that has a heart and like know that people go through things, like I wouldn't dare sit there and be like, drink up, drink.
But let's be real.
Like prove to us that you really have depression or really going through something. Like that's sick.
Yeah.
The live stream over, Lou immediately began to regret her decision, as she would quickly grab her phone and call an ambulance. However, it was much too late, and sadly, she would lose her life, thanks in large part to the encouragement from her very own audience. It's a horrible story, but somehow it actually gets darker from here, as it actually has one of the most shocking twists that I have personally ever seen in a case before. Following her passing, Lou's body would be quickly cremated with a funeral planned shortly after, so her loved ones could pay their respects, though something strange happened before the ceremony could commence, as the ashes of Lou would disappear. Apparently, the crematorium had refused to turn over Lou's ashes to her family, claiming that somehow they had gotten lost, though in actuality, an investigation would reveal that these remains had actually been stolen, and stolen by none other than the employees responsible for her cremation. According to reports, numerous members of the staff had taken the remains of Lou with the intention of selling them on the black market. As once news broke of her passing, the agency was contacted by an individual expressing interest in purchasing her cremated remains. And what did this man have planned once in possession of these ashes? Well, he wanted to marry them. In certain areas of China, there exists a practice called ghost marriages, where people are allowed to marry after death. This is done due to the fact that unmarried girls are seen as undesirable in their society and can even be shameful for the parents, so some will choose to marry the deceased individuals as a way of supposedly saving their souls and their families from this shame. It's a bizarre tradition that typically happens between people who at the very least knew each other, but it's especially twisted when it's done without any form of consent from the victim or her family, as this man was a complete stranger to the girl. Though thankfully, this plan would eventually fall through when the buyer supposedly backed out, and the operation would eventually be busted, leading to Lou's remains being found and safely returned to her family. And it's this family that I truly feel sorry for the most in this situation, as not only did they have to deal with the highly publicized passing of their daughter in such a horrific way, but also the theft and almost the marriage of her remains.
Yeah.
That is so weird and wild, bro. I understand cultures, all cultures have different things. There's things we do here in America that people find is very weird and strange amongst their society. So, but I mean,
but for it to be a tradition, that's fine. But the fact that you was doing it without the family's consent and
the
you're
way
a
you went
stranger to her,
about
the way you went about doing it, like,
it's very, very.
Come on now.
That's beyond weird.
Like this family done been through enough. This
just gets sicker and sicker, bro.
Yeah.
The more we watch,
it's just sad.
I ain't gonna lie. Balling videos, all right, cool, whatever. This videos be sick, bro.
They be definitely dark.
Like
the darkest.
This is some sick. You know what I'm saying? Oh, okay. One more. Oh, God,
my chest hurt.
It's a lot. I ain't gonna lie. I kind of want to wrap this. After that one, it's just like, all right.
Turn now to China, where the Winter Olympics are underway in Beijing. China's human rights abuses are getting as much attention as the athletes.
Our final case once again takes us back to the Douyin app and a small impoverished village within Suzhou, China. There, a man named Dong Mumin had been living with his family of 8 children, 7 boys and 1 girl, a dynamic that was extremely unusual to say the least, as China had only just recently gotten rid of its one-child policy, yet somehow Dong had found a workaround and managed to grow this family all of his own. Even more surprising was the fact that Dong actually lived in destitute poverty, hardly earning enough to take care of himself, let alone this big family. Yet somehow he found a way for himself and his children to survive. And not just survive, but seemingly thrive, as Dong always seemed to have a smile on his face, and his family remained positive and full of joy despite their circumstances. To the locals, his story was incredibly touching, and soon enough, this story would begin to spread to the rest of the world, as Dong began to document his life on Douyin, where he ran the aptly named Father of 8 page, which most would view as extremely inspirational given his positive outlook and the love he had for his family. Soon enough, his videos began being viewed by thousands of people, growing his account to 600,000 followers in the span of just a few uploads. And before long, Dong had become a full-on small-town celebrity, with other influencers traveling to the region to interview him, as well as to help him set up ways for his audience to donate to his family. This exposure and outside help led to a brand new stream of income, as well as a seemingly endless supply of donations for his children, who would receive such a staggering amount of gifted clothes that it quite literally filled up an entire section of his already small home. The whole ordeal was undeniably touching, and among the many influencers to help make these donations happen was an account called Shujo Brother Yiksu, a man who had visited Dong and his family on multiple occasions, and on one particular day in late January of 2021, he would once again show up unannounced to the home of Dong for another routine visit. And it was on this visit that everything changed. Upon being let into Dong's home, the man behind the Shujo Brother Yiksu account, who I'll now be referring to simply as Shujo, as I was unable to find his actual name, would begin interviewing one of Dong's many sons, who mentioned something unusual. Holding what appeared to be food in his hand, the child mentions how he and his brothers were often tasked with feeding their mother, who lived out back. This was a bizarre statement from the child, as after all of Shujo's visits, he had never once seen a mother figure, and up until this point, most had just assumed that she was out of the picture, and so confused, Shujo asked the boy to take them to their mother, to which he was promptly led to a small hut behind the house, with his camera drawn.
想不想你妈妈？你妈妈，你说你妈妈，你没事，你是大很男子汉了，你就是家庭的男子汉。你好，冷吗？不冷，我给你拿个衣服穿上吧。我给你拿个衣服穿上吧。我给你拿个衣服去，好不好？我给你拿件衣服。我看你咱有爱心是捐助衣服，我给你拿一件。
Inside the dilapidated hut, Shujo would find a disheveled.
See, why you jump like that?
I looked at you.
I'm saying, like, why you said?
Cause it just registered in my head. Cause I was looking at her I started from like down and up. I was like, okay. I was like, she didn't have it. And then when you said it, cause I was making my way up, I said, you fucking liars. Excuse my language. Not that you got this
by the neck. You didn't see the big chain, crazy. Long chain?
I told you I started from up
No,
here.
I'm saying, did you see the long chain that
I seen it. Yeah, when you said it, okay. I had looked and I was like, what?
That's crazy, bro. You talking about control?
That is
whole nother level, man.
Yeah,
whole nother woman level. With a chain around her neck, attached to the wall and sealed by a padlock. The woman herself looked scared, frail, and was noticeably freezing, as that winter day when the video was filmed had been particularly cold. The woman was not only without a jacket, but without shoes, barefoot and shivering in the corner of the room. The majority of her words were barely discernible, as she seemed completely disconnected from the world around her, with the only understandable statement she could manage to make being how she was kept there like a prostitute. In all the videos posted by and about Dong, this was the first time his wife and the mother of his children was shown on camera. Immediately, the clip would spread across China, prompting concern for the chained woman, as given the optics alone, many feared that she may be a victim of human trafficking, and that Dong, this supposedly wholesome figure on the Douyin app, may have actually been using her for the sole purpose of bearing children. In response to the allegations, Dong came forward and admitted that the woman, whose surname was Yang, was in fact his wife, but that she suffered from debilitating mental health issues, and due to this, he claimed that Yang would often lose control and attempt to hurt those around her, including her children, and so for their safety, she was kept chained up in a hut outside of the house. And this was a sentiment echoed by officials in the area, as a statement would quickly be made by law enforcement stating, "Her family has been given further assistance to ensure they have a warm Lunar New Year." Despite this quick response, however, the public largely doubted the story that Dong and the authorities had been telling, as regardless of its validity, the way this woman was being kept is clearly just inhumane, and things would only get more suspicious from here as people attempted to dig deeper. For starters, many would visit the region to try and assist Yang and hopefully save her from this neglect, only to discover that Chinese authorities had actually closed off the entire town in which Dong's family had lived, making access to them impossible. Along with this, journalists who had written about the incident were also supposedly arrested, along with the actual owner of the Suzhou Brother Iksu account, and 2 other influencers who had attempted to help Yang. It seemed clear that China was attempting to fully censor this whole ordeal, and for good reason too, as this video was released just days before the start of the already controversial Winter Olympic Games, which just so happened to be taking place in China. But as hard as they tried to suppress this, the story of the chained woman had already spread far across the world, even on one day being mentioned across social media more so than the actual Olympics themselves. And in the face of intense international scrutiny, the truth would finally be revealed. In actuality, this lady's name isn't even Yang, and instead it was Chow Huma Mi, and sadly, she had in fact been the victim of human trafficking. In 1996, when Chow was just 20 years old, she was taken to a mental health clinic where somehow she would end up being sold into a trafficking ring. From there, she was bought and sold on 3 separate occasions, with one of her buyers being Dong's father. Once purchased, Dong would marry the woman and essentially use her as a means of birthing children.
Wow.
It was within that backyard hut that Dong would often leave this starved and freezing woman, chained up like an animal, with no chance to leave, and only using her when it would come time to have another child. And as for her violent outbursts, well, that too was a fabrication by Dong, as it would later be revealed that she was actually suffering from a seizure disorder, and each time she would have one, Dong would punish her by chaining her up, not because she was dangerous or anything like that, but because she was an inconvenience. The whole situation is unbelievably horrible, and truthfully, I can't even imagine the horrors that this poor woman has endured. And without this massive public pressure, it's likely she would have lived the rest of her life as a captive woman. Though thankfully, this doesn't appear to be the case, as it's believed that she has now finally been rescued and is being given the proper care that she deserved all along, while Dong and multiple others involved in her trafficking have since been arrested, leading to an extremely shocking and heinous end to a man once considered one of Douyin's most wholesome creators. Though there's one last element to this story, an element that totally takes away from this somewhat positive ending, with that being that Xiao wasn't the only captive woman in that village. Earlier I had mentioned that the Suzhou Brother Yixu account had been banned with its owner having been arrested, and though this was primarily due to the expose on Dong, he would also release another video directly before his ban that showed that Xiao wasn't alone. In that very same small village, just a few houses down, Suzhou would discover this. Unlike the chained woman's story, this video would garner just a fraction of the attention, but is equally as alarming, as this woman, whose surname is Zong, had too been purchased many years ago by her now husband, and it seems that she is somehow treated even worse than Chow, as she had supposedly been beaten consistently throughout the early years of their relationship, leaving her too with severe mental issues, potentially caused by head trauma. And to make things even worse, she has lived like this on the floor of that hut on her knees, unable to walk or stand, for 20 years. Just left there to essentially waste away, unable to even move enough to make it to the bed that sits so tantalizingly close. There's just something so incredibly disturbing about this video in particular, and unfortunately I couldn't find any more information on it, with the only real detail being that the case was quote-unquote under investigation, but sadly I have no idea what ended up happening to Zong since then. But I do hope that they are giving her the proper care and putting measures in place to protect any others like her and Chow, as given that these two cases happened so close to each other in one small village, I have a bad feeling that they aren't the only ones.
Thanks.
I want to give a huge shout out to my God tier patron member.
I told you, it just gets worse and worse and worse, bro. Shout out to Nick, man. Great content as always, but it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
That's so sad, man.
It's like, golly, man.
I don't have it. I have no words. I was already like mentally messed up from the other ones, like because it was just like so much. But them last two, that's like treating people like that's sad. Yeah, but
man, y'all spam us up in the comments, man. Let us know y'all thoughts and opinions about it for us in the comment section down below. But until next time, y'all know how it go, man. I do go by the name DJ New Kid. This is we are.
No time to kick it, got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar, 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 dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar, 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 dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.